Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Information Resilience and Integrity Symposium 2025. And we are truly delighted to have you joining us today. We will also like to extend our gratitude to our media partners, Kumparan, Katadata, and Narasi, for their generous support to IRIS 2025. Ladies and gentlemen, we inform you that our special event will be started in a few minutes. Please enter the room and please be seated. Thank you so very much for your attention and for your cooperation. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. It's my great pleasure to welcome you at here, Visipol Universitas Gadjah Mada, and we welcome you to the special event, Information, Resilience and Integrity Symposium, IRIS 2025. Thank you for your applause. Thank you so very much for your enthusiasm for this program. And IRIS 2025 is an international forum initiated by the Safer Internet Lab, or SAIL, under the Department of Politics and Social Change at CSIS in collaboration with the Center for Digital Society, CfDS, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences of Universitas Gadjah Mada. Ladies and gentlemen, with the utmost respect, I would like to extend my warmest welcome and greetings to our honorable guests. We welcome Professor Ang Peng Hua from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Please stand. Good morning and thank you for welcoming here. And we welcome also Vice Rector for Education and Learning of Universitas Gadjah Mada, Professor Wening Udasmoro. Honorable Senior Advisor for Social Economy and Culture, the Ministry for Communication and Digital Affairs of Republic of Indonesia, Bapak Wijaya Kusuma Wardana. We also welcome Executive Director, Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, Dr. Yose Rizal Damuri. And also we welcome Vice Dean of Academic and Student Affairs, Faculty of Social and Political Sciences of Universitas Gadjah Mada here, Professor Poppy S. Winanti. And we also welcome Visiting Fellow and Co-Coordinator of the Media Technology and Society Program, ICS Yusof Ishak Institute, Dr. Maria Monica Wiharja. We also welcome all speakers, moderator, and all participants. Thank you so very much for attending here. And ladies and gentlemen, we are diving into one of the most exciting and important topics of our time, generative artificial intelligence and its impact across multiple sectors. This is a field that's evolving rapidly, and today's conversation will help us unpack both the opportunities and the challenges it brings. Ladies and gentlemen, may I kindly invite all of you to stand and joining us to singing our Indonesian national anthem, Indonesia Raya. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please stand. Indonesia Raya. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please be seated. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, now we are honored to have with us here the Vice Rector for Education and Learning of Universitas Gajah Mada to deliver her welcoming remarks. Please welcome Professor Wening Udasmoro.
Good morning everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. The Honorable Bapak Wijaya Kusumawardana, Senior Advisor for Social Economics and Cultural Affairs, Ministry of Communication and Digital, Republic of Indonesia. Dr. Yose Rizal Damuri, Executive Director, Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS. Professor Ang Peng Hua, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Dr. Maria Monica Wiharja, Visiting Fellow and Co-Coordinator, Media, Technology and Society Program, ICS, Yusof Ishak Institute. Professor Poppy S. Winanti, Vice Dean for Academic and Student Affairs, Faculty of Social and Political Science, and all participants joining us this morning. On behalf of UTAS Gajah Mada in the Faculty of Social and Political Sciences, I extend my warmest welcome to this forum. Would not be possible without the support of SAIL, CSIS, SFCD, CfDS, and Visipol UTAS Gajah Mada. We are honored to host this gathering. Its timing, its apt, and theme is highly relevant to our present context. This year's Information Resilience and Integrity Symposium center on generative AI and information resilience in Asia-Pacific action and adaptation. Generative AI is a transformative force with both promise and peril. It can accelerate development, expand opportunity, yet it also enables fraud, manipulation, surveillance, and even electoral interference. Universities, UGM included, have a responsibility not only to study such technologies, but also to help society navigate and use them responsibly. Visipol is a fitting host because it's integral political, social, and technological analysis. At UGM, we build long-term public capacity through education, contribute through research, and engage society through partnership and community outreach. And across the Asia Pacific, including Indonesia, we face 4 dynamics: rapid digital growth, academic capacity challenge, unequal digital readiness, and diverse governance structures. Those dynamics bring abundant opportunities, but also significant risk. In Indonesia, we also confront regulatory gap, limited digital literacy, and persistent misinformation that challenge share across the region. We therefore need concrete, practical solution and adaptive current frameworks informed by inclusive dialogue. Innovation plays a pivotal role in today's world, but it must never undermine trust or democratic values. It should strengthen social cohesion and democratic resilience, not erode them. The adoption of Gen AI must be ethical and inclusive, respecting privacy, advancing equity, and upholding human dignity. Through today's forum, I encourage all participants to treat IRIS as a launchpad for ongoing collaboration and a space for actionable solution. Let us work together to ensure that the future of Gen AI is grounded in integrity, resilience, and regional solidarity. Thank you very much. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you so very much, Professor Mending Udasmoro, Vice Rector for Education and Learning of Universitas Gadjah Mada, for your warm welcoming remarks. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now proceed with the opening speech. May I kindly invite the Executive Director of the Center for Strategic and International Studies, CSIS, to deliver his opening remarks. Please give a warm welcome applause to Dr. Yose Rizal Damuri.
Distinguished guests, colleagues, ladies and gentlemen, a very good morning to you all. It is really a pleasure to be back here in very prestigious Universitas Gadjah Mada. And again, to welcome you also to our events, Information, Resilience, and Integrity Symposiums, or we can call it IRIS. Allow me first to extend my special welcome, warm welcomes to Excellency Ibu Metia Hafidz. I think I should also mention her because I think Ibu Minister of Communication and Digital Affairs would also deliver speech, her keynote speech via video. Although via video, I believe this is very indications of support from the ministry and also from the Ibu ministers on our events today. Also to Professor Mending Udasmoro, Vice Rectors of Universitas Gadjah Mada, to Bapak Wijaya Kusumawardana, Expert Staff of Minister for Social, Economic, and Cultural Affairs, Ministry of Communication and Digital Affairs, to my friend here, Maria Monica, and also Ibu Poppy, for sure, the host for our events. And of course to our keynote speaker, keynote lecturer, Professor Ang Peng Hua from Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. I also would like to extend my welcome to our panel speakers, as well as representatives from academia, civil society, government institutions, private sector, and all participants. It is really an honor to have you here today with us and to discuss about this very important topic. IRIS is an initiative by the Center for Strategic and International Studies through our research programs, the so-called Safer Internet Lab, or we call it SAIL, in collaborations with the Center for Digital Society, who have made it possible for IRIS to take place here in this academic, very knowledgeable academic setting, prestigious academic setting in the Universitas Gadjah Mada. CSES began our programs, our SAIL program, actually in the end of 2022. At that time, we have been following the issues of digital transformations for quite some time, around 7 years or so. Mostly, at that time, we look at the digital transformations from the positive perspective, from looking at how digital transformation and digital technology can bring more benefits to our society through the digital economy or through public services and many other applications, implementations of digital technology that brings the benefit to the society. But at the same time, we also observe there is also this dark side of the digital technology, the unintended consequences of a digital technology that we must face, and also we must also respond appropriately. And that's why we began in 2022 this SAIL program, Safer Internet Lab program, in order to know more, to understand more about the dark side of the digital technology. The dark side of digital technology, you can name many of them, such as misinformation and disinformations that spread easily using the digital technology, or frauds and attacks on data privacy, data breach, and many other things. And it's getting massive with the digital technology. And in the last few years, we have seen also that this illicit practice have taken advantage of the rise of this generative artificial intelligence. This emerging technology, as Ibu Wakil Rektor also mentioned, presents us with various benefits, various opportunities for innovation and growth. But at the same time, it also brings a lot of complex challenges from the abuse and misuse of the technology. These opportunities and risks actually are deeply interlinked, intertwined. And it is precisely that we have to find the balance on how to manage the opportunity or to manage the risk while taking advantage of the opportunity. That's what IRIS try to explore, and we try to explore together today. Just to give you one example, on the online financial scams, I think this threat has become increasingly close to home for many Indonesians. And we really appreciate actually the Ministry of Communications and Digital Affairs has made it as a priority programs to tackle the online scam as well. I think we really need to appreciate that kind of actions. But still, the challenge is big, very massive, and it is transnational in nature. It means strong collaborations across border is essential to tackle these online scams. Our research at SAIL has also found that the online fraud and scams has evolved quite rapidly during the last few years. What once a matter of mass spamming, for example, using digital technology, has shifted, has evolved toward more targeted, more manufactured relationship between the scammers and or the spammers to the target and the victims. Taking advantage of this generative AI, it becomes more difficult to distinguish the real or fake digital activities. Just I want to mention an example. Last year, we heard about how finance officers of a big multinational firms in Hong Kong actually were tricked into paying out $25 million to fraudster using deepfake video. Yeah. This scammer actually posed as a company's chief financial officer using the deepfake video. So you can imagine even a big company like that with all necessary standard and procedures fell victim to the illegal activities, taking advantage of the AI. So what about the how fragile it is for us, for the common people who are mostly unknowledgeable about this important issue. So it will be discussed in our IRIS panel, final one, with the deepfakes of financial fraud. So I'm not going to talk more about it. But this is just one area of discussions. In our forum today, we will also address foreign information manipulation and interference that threatens the national security and also may escalate global geopolitical tensions. That will be, I think, covered in the panel 3 of our session today. But the issues may not only come from those kind of criminals, it may also come from other parties, such as service provider, platforms, or even authorities, or even government itself. They now have very powerful tools for monitoring and response. While it would increase effectiveness in dealings with many societal problems, excessive surveillance will pose danger to society, especially by eroding privacy and also undermining civil liberties. So we will also discuss about how we should find some balance on this effectiveness of monitoring, effectiveness of surveillance with the civil, with the privacy and the civil liberties as well. More importantly, in our discussion today, we should also look at how we could take actions, we could respond to the current situations. I think together with these conversations, we can remind us that protecting the integrity of our information space is basically inseparable from protecting the very foundations of our democracy as well. How we should develop not only policies and regulation, but also ethical use to the generative AI that currently still developing and will affect our life even more in the future. I sincerely hope this event will not only deepen our understanding about generative AI and its impact, but also foster and find practical and cooperative strategies for governance and resilience across not only in Indonesia, but also across the regions in Asia and Pacific. So on behalf of CSIS, I thank you all for your presence and commitment to come here and to be active for our discussions. Also to our partner, Center for Digital Society, UGM, for nicely arranging our important forum here today. And we look forward for lasting partnership between us in the future. So thank you very much again. Look forward for the fruitful discussions for today. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Dr. Jose Rizal Damuri, Executive Director of CSIS, for your insightful remarks for today's event. Ladies and gentlemen, for the next session, we will have a special video message from the Minister of Communication and Digital Affairs of Republic of Indonesia, Mrs. Mutia Fiada Hafid. And please pay attention to the screen.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, salam kebajikan, salam sejahtera untuk kita semua. The Honorable Rector of UGM, Profesor Ova Emilia, Executive Director CSIS, Bapak Dr. Yoserizal Damuri, esteemed panelists, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, when we speak about artificial intelligence and particularly generative AI, we are speaking about a force that is transforming societies at a speed unlike anything we have experienced. For Indonesia, a nation of more than 270 million people living across 17,000 islands, this transformation is about ensuring that the benefits of innovation reach all citizens, while also protecting them from new emerging risks. Globally, momentum is already immense. Surveys across 10 countries, including in Indonesia, show that 85% of professionals in the built environment sector feel excited about AI adoption, and almost two-thirds see AI as more of an opportunity rather than a threat. Our task is to harness this optimism responsibly. From Indonesia's perspective, the most urgent risk of generative AI exists at both the micro and macro levels. At the micro level, we worry about bias in algorithms, about AI systems that may unintentionally discriminate against women, minorities, or vulnerable groups. We worry about deepfakes and disinformation, which are already eroding public trust around the world. We also worry about privacy breaches when personal data is mishandled or exploited. At the macro level, the risks grow larger. Unequal access to technology threatens to widen the gap between urban and also rural communities. Today, urban internet penetration in Indonesia is around 82%, while in rural area, it's only 62%. This is not just a statistic. It is the story of a child in a remote village who still struggles to join an online class, while her peers in big cities are already experimenting with AI coding tools. Globally, these concerns resonate. The Cisco AI Readiness Index 2023 showed that 87% of companies in Southeast Asia are still lagging in AI adoption. If this gap persists, Southeast Asia risks becoming a passive consumer of technologies built elsewhere, instead of shaping them for our own realities, building adaptive regulations, and building people. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the central challenges of AI governance is speed. Generative AI develops far faster than traditional policy cycles, leaving governments struggling to catch up. If we only react, we will always be one step behind. This is why Indonesia launched an AI ethics white paper aligned with UNESCO, OECD, and ASEAN principles. It defines 9 guiding principles from inclusivity and also transparency to accountability and also sustainability. We also translate them into several safeguards such as audit trails, stress testing, and clear accountability mechanism. Equally important is coordination. Indonesia has one of the most comprehensive governance approaches in the region, involving 39 ministries and government agencies in building an AI national roadmap. This whole of government effort ensures that AI policy is not limited to the tech sector, but also integrated into education, health, agriculture, security, and also social welfare. But let us be clear now. Technology alone cannot build a future. People do. Indonesia is addressing this by investing in digital skills and AI literacy. We see AI not as a threat to jobs, but as a partner in creating new ones. KPMG AI Pulse survey in Q4 2024 showed that 80% of organizations plan to integrate generative AI into formal business operations. If workers are equipped with the right training, this transition can be empowering rather than displacing. Let me share a simple story. In one of our provinces in the city of Sukabumi, a group of small farmers began using AI-driven tools. These tools helped them decide when to plant and when to harvest. The result was not only higher yields, but also greater confidence that they could compete in local markets. For me, this is what AI should mean, a real tools that help real people. When I think about AI, I do not just think about technology. I think about the farmer in a small village, the teacher in a modest classroom, the entrepreneur in a crowded marketplace. AI must serve them, not the other way around. A Rap Global Survey 2025 found that half of professionals now use AI tools daily or every few days. The momentum is unstoppable. The real question now is, will AI reflect our values or will it override our values? Indonesia chooses the first path. For us, AI is about dignity. It is about using intelligence, both artificial and also human intelligence, to build a future that is inclusive and just. That is the spirit we bring to ARIS, shared commitment to ensure that the age of AI is also an age of responsibility. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you to the Minister of Communication and Digital Affairs of Republic of Indonesia, Mrs. Mutia, for your thoughtful message. Ladies and gentlemen, now we will proceed to public lecture session with the title Regional Cooperation for Information Resilience, which will be delivered by our speakers, Professor Ang Peng Hua from Kim Wee School of Communication and Information, Nanyang Technological University, Singapore. Please join me in welcoming Professor Ang Peng Hua.
Selamat pagi. I'm delighted to be back here. You can see this shirt is from Malio Bro, actually. Okay, so I've got 35 slides and I have 15 minutes, but I will finish in the time. Okay. Is it on? I have no power. I have no PowerPoint. No. Is it up? Okay, so I will not be talking about the kind of issues that Park Jose talked about. I will be talking about less obvious issues that you may not have thought about, but as a result of AI use. I have, hang on, let's go back here. I had a small AI startup that unfortunately closed because of ChatGPT. Our AI was to help students in writing, but we needed to charge about $110 a month. And you know, ChatGPT is $20 a month. So we had to close it. Lost money, I can't be helped, you know. Okay, so I'm going to talk about just three critical issues that I think are important. So some statistics. It seems like in less developed countries, AI is used more than in more developed countries. So the US, Korea, Japan, certain Europe, they're very cautious. But you can see a place like China. I just gave a talk in China Beijing recently. And the Chinese AI programs are not collecting $1 million in revenue. They are not collecting $1 million in revenue. And you know that it costs big money to use ChatGPT. I think the estimate for ChatGPT use is a region of, I heard 200, maybe but at least $100 million a month to use ChatGPT because of the power needed. And you can see that Chat is collecting money, but it's still losing money. Yeah? Chat is collecting $700 million a year, but it's not enough money for the company yet. It's still losing money. Okay, I think first point is that AI is reducing diversity in what we experience. And I use AI generally, but of course today's talk is about information, so I will focus more on information. But the point is that AI is reducing diversity. Okay. The big thing, of course, is the speed. I think the Vice Director had mentioned speed. Okay, so the impact of AI at an individual level. I hope this clicks through. So this is an interesting article. I hope this clicks through. Okay, no. Can someone? I need someone to click. Okay, good. And then to scroll up. I'm sorry, I need your help to scroll up. Yeah, scroll some more. Okay, let's scroll, and then yeah. Okay. So these are a bunch of numbers. So ChatGPT now has used all the English words in the world since English was written online, and then they say, imagine all the words in the world were written, and they say not enough. Tak cukup. So now they're using what we call synthetic data produced by AI and fed into AI itself. Okay, so please scroll some more. So this is handwritten digit numbers, and I'll show you some more. Yeah, please scroll. Okay, you see that the Gen AI is a bit less sharp compared with the original one, right? But let's carry on, please. Yeah. Okay, some more. Okay. After one generation, you can see. Okay, it's a little bit blurred. Some more. Yeah, please carry on. Sorry, you have to do the work at the back. Yeah, please. So after 20 generations, you see that it is already becoming quite blurred. 20 times, you take the Gen AI output, you feed it in, and it becomes less blurred. Some more. Okay, stop there. At 30 times, the words look like this. The numbers look like the same. So they converge. Okay, now why is it? Some more. I'll show you some more. Okay, yeah, please carry on. Yeah. Okay, some more, yeah, carry on. The next one will be, yeah, okay. You see the numbers, so at, is it clear? No, cannot. Disappears, huh? Yeah, text disappears, unfortunately. Okay, so when handwritten digits is clear, but you can see at number 30 at the bottom there, it is less clear, and they all look about the same. They all look about the same, they converge. Okay, some more. Yeah, please scroll up. Okay, now look at this one. This is a recipe for cooking turkey. Okay, yeah, some more. Okay, wait, huh? Okay, yeah. So you can see after the second one, it becomes rubbish, no? Okay. If you cook a turkey, you must eat it at one time. If you don't have enough, add other food such as potato, beans, rice, milk, but no turkey, no? Right? Okay, some more. It's rubbish, no? Yeah, okay, yeah, no. And then after 4 times, it keeps going, talking, really, this is rubbish, right? It repeats. So AI fed into AI becomes rubbish. Okay, there are some more. Now look at, so we had numbers, we had words, now we have figures, photos, images. Okay, you can tell this AI, look at the man's face, he's got marks. The lady's hands, not natural. So the first few generations, I think some of you use it would know, the AI with the fingers, you look at the hand to see whether it's AI or not, and they are not so realistic. Of course, the good ones they look realistic. We can see the lady. So all of these have got some defects in their images. Scroll some more. Some more, please, yeah. They have improved. Okay. I'm going to show this. Okay, let's scroll this one. Let's see. Scroll this one. Yeah, scroll some more. So this point, okay, the thing about, okay, just stop it. Yeah, okay, stop there. The thing about AI is that it is a prediction machine. It is trying to predict, for Gen A or ChatGPT, it's trying to predict the next word. So the way to imagine it, read a thick book all the way to the middle, try to predict the next word. Then it starts all over again, reads that plus the next word, and then predicts the word after that, right? So this is the current LLM model, large language model, and that's why it uses so much energy. It's reading, and trying to predict the next word all the time, right? So a lot of words, but still, you can see that it doesn't get it all right. So what happens is that if you are trying to predict, it makes sense to a bell curve to predict the middle, right? If I say, what's the average height of people in Jogja? You think, yeah, of course, the middle average would be the one. But you keep on predicting, you become just 1 point. So this is what it's showing. The AI converges. We come to one number, one word, one image. Yeah, scroll some more, please. Yeah. Scroll some more. Okay, that's why okay, stop there. That's why the number looks that way. They all actually end up looking the same because the AI has converged to 1 point. This is the problem with Gen AI. You try and predict the next word. It's the problem when you feed it in. That's why they need fresh data all the time. But like I said, all the words in history have been written already, have been swallowed already. Now they want new data. Okay, some more. Yeah. Okay, now look at the photos. Okay, some more. Okay, you can see. Okay, first generation of photos. Some more. Scroll up. Some more. Yeah, please go. Carry on. Yeah. Okay, you can see some changes here. Some more. 2 generations. Some more. 3 generations. You see how they convert the blonde hair is going, becoming black hair. There's more black hair in the world, of course. Yeah. Okay. Some more. Yeah. Scroll out. Is that? Okay. Some more. All the way to the end. Yeah. Okay, sorry. Maybe just go back just to see the photo. Just go back. Yeah, the last bit of photos. Okay, stop. So if you look closely, look at the smile. They look very similar. The hair tends to be dark brown to black, and they look very similar. So if you carry on, actually, the faces will come to be like one face. Okay, right. So convergence. The next, go to the next slide now. Go back to the slide. Yeah. Thank you for doing that. Okay. So, so you can see that certain words are used by AI. Oh, so one word that AI, ChatGPT uses is delves, D-E-L-V-E-S. So when I see delves, I say, maybe AI. Okay, yeah. Okay, that's the first thing. And so now I'm talking about AI in general, because we use recommender services, right? Netflix, your Spotify, they recommend certain things. So our view first was like this, what's available. But AI recommends like this to you, each of us. Okay. So here's a funny story, recent one. So in Singapore, this is the public housing apartments. I think those of you familiar with Singapore will not be surprised. Public housing flats inside, quite nice. Okay, but this journalists are saying they look at the same, because if you look at like how do I design a flat, right? AI would recommend, hey, you do this, you know. If you look at cafes now, the new cafes, don't they look similar? Cafes and restaurants, they look right similar. How do you lay things out, right? So we are sort of experiencing less diversity in our built-up environment. So if you look gray, white, okay, I know it's nice, but the point is that the colors look very similar. These are public housing. You shouldn't be surprised. Inside, not outside, inside, right? So the way we live now, even because of AI, not Gen AI, but AI in general, we are reducing diversity. So that's my point, that AI reduces diversity in the way we live and experience. The second point is that it's not clear, asking your colleagues here, how Gen AI is used in Indonesia. So there was a study done in the US for over 2 years, and they found that there was increasing use of AI for personal use. Okay, so 24 and 25. Okay, so the green, that's support, and that's more of it from 24 to 25. So let me show you. Generating ideas has fallen, right, from number 1. Ideas, AI, to number 6 now. Okay, and then, but the one that came up, generating code, that's why programmers are losing their jobs. You can see that all the tech firms have cut programmers. To give you an idea, so when I was doing the AI startup, I asked the programmers, right, how much time does AI save? You know, so this colleague said, a project that used to take 1 year can now be done in 2 weeks. 2 weeks, there are 26 2 weeks. 26, right? 26 and 2 is 52 weeks, right? That means that what was done in 1 year now, you can now do 26 projects. 26. That's why your developers, your programmers are being retrenched, losing their jobs because of generating code. Interviewing preparation, because so many people are writing in, the HR have to use AI to filter out. Then the applicants use AI to filter the AI, right? We do that, right? AI versus AI. Okay, so you can use AI to prepare for the interview. So I know it's a battle versus, I'm not sure who's winning here. I put a support there, you can see, second button there, support. Okay, healthy living, big jump, the number. People are asking AI, how do I live more healthy? Don't you know? Right? Why must you use AI? I don't understand. But finding purpose in life. What is the purpose of my life? Why am I here, right? Now I'm looking Quran or Bible, like, hey, let's use AI. Use AI. Okay, organize my life using AI. And then companionship, my friend, like, no, I don't want you, I want AI. Right? Okay, so you can see that, but already companionship was big. So I've asked my colleagues, maybe you should do a study in Indonesia. How are people using Gen AI, right? Is it like this or not? Now, of course, question, so what? What is wrong with using AI for therapy and companionship, right? The algorithm, because they're designed by engineers say friendly, right? Everything friendly. But AI has, I think you would have read, AI has caused, the word is causal link, suicides in places like America and UK. Some articles just came out, I don't plan to put it in. Because AI affirms you. I'm thinking suicide, oh yeah, you're bad, suicide, So, and then encourage, so people go down this, what they call rabbit hole, and they end up committing suicide. They feel more depressed. If you're not well, mentally not well, you need someone to be like, hey, wake up, do you need this or not? Not all the time, of course, but a human being will like, hey, maybe you should go and see a doctor, right? Maybe you should do this. So some challenges are needed, right, to people. I think in Indonesia, I missed something here, but there's increased threat of radicalization. This slide should be out, but maybe, okay, because of your the factions here. My last point is that AI will lead to if you keep using it, lead to less critical thinking. Just talking to colleagues yesterday, the faculty, and they were saying, how when we write, we think. I know we don't write, don't think, I know, but when we write, we think, right? We find out how to write this, right? Now AI is displacing writing, which means you think less, which means less critical thinking, right? So the first one is called cognitive offloading. You take your mind, right? Offloading. What the thing, hard part, let AI do it, right? And then the result is that less critical thinking, less skepticism. There is bias. I think we showed yesterday in the Bahasa Indonesia algorithm, they use less formal language compared with the English one, because English, the data came from Enron. Enron released more than, I think, something like 400 million pages, whereas I imagine that the data for Bahasa Indonesia must have come from social media, which is less formal, right? And then age and education, ironically, older people like me, orang tua like me, less susceptible. So younger people, in fact, are more susceptible. I was talking to our colleagues, my colleague did some research. The group that is most susceptible to deepfakes, the group most susceptible to deepfakes are young men. University to about 25, most susceptible to deepfakes. They believe the deepfakes, right? So don't think that you are not susceptible, yeah. So my solution at the end, I'm going to wrap up now, is that the solution has to be multi-stakeholder. It has to be. The companies doing and using AI have to be involved in this. They have to be aware of the biases. We talked about this. They have to be aware that they are by for example, being affirming all the time, that's not good. There are people doing algorithms for counseling, and that should reverse some of this. But the engineers should be told that, hey, being affirming isn't always necessarily good. Business, of course. I think we talked about labor displacement. My view is that labor displacement is an ethical issue, and companies need to take action to help people who are displaced. Because if you don't help people who are displaced, then what people will do will simply say, if I use AI, I will lose my job. Therefore, I will not use AI, right? So it makes sense for the company to say, let me see what we can do. If you are displaced, what can we do to help you? My two offers government will be involved is clear. I think civil society has a role to play as well. Civil society account religious groups, because religious groups are concerned about purpose of life, right? Which is up there. And of course, academia, I'm here, I need to be employed to carry on my work, right? Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so very much, Professor Ang Peng Hua, for your public lecture. And ladies and gentlemen, we sincerely appreciate the support of our media partner in making this event possible. And before we move on to another engaging session that will surely bring a fruitful discussion, let's take a moment to watch some information from our media partners.
Sudah tahu berita terbaru? Buat siang paling update, ini revisi terpercaya buat kamu. Dapatkan informasi terupdate
setiap saat. Memberikan informasi yang cepat, relevan, dan kredibel.
Dikemas secara menarik, menyeluruh, tersedia di multi-channel.
Kolaborasi sekarang.
A big thanks to our media partners, Kumparan Kata Data and Narasi. Please give a big applause to our media partners, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, now let me take a moment to introduce our next session, which is the strategic dialogue. This isn't just any discussion, it is a high-level forum designed to bridge the gap between cutting-edge academic research and real-world policy decisions. Here, experts and decision makers come together to exchange ideas, challenge perspectives, and spark innovative strategies that can truly make a difference. And it's where knowledge meets action, turning insight into impact. To guide us through this important conversation, this session will be led by our moderator. She is the Vice Dean of Academic and Student Affairs of Faculty of Social and Political Sciences of Universitas Gadjah Mada, with extensive experience in academic leadership and a deep commitment to fostering meaningful dialogue between scholars and policymakers. She's uniquely qualified to steer the dialogue toward impactful outcomes. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a warm welcome to our moderator, Profesor Poppy S. Winanti.
Thank you, Mbak Saka. I think that's a very long introduction for introducing moderator, isn't it? It's good to be here. Thank you, everyone. It's an honor for me to moderating or to facilitate the discussion. A very interesting topic that we're going to discuss further with prominent speakers. And we have already listened to our minister, they're giving keynote speech, and also we listened to Professor Ang public lecture. I think very interesting. Now I'm thinking about myself how we're using AI for our daily life. Yes, Professor Ang. So it is again an honor for me to be here. Then I would like to invite prominent speakers to be with me here at the stage. First, I'd like to invite Professor Ang Peng Hua from Wee Kim Wee School of Communication and Information, Nanyang Technological University of Singapore. Please, Professor Ang, please join me on the stage. Please warm welcome to Professor Ang. I'd like to also invite Bapak Wijaya Kusumawardana, Senior Advisor for Social Economy and Culture, the Ministry of Communication and Digital Affairs, Republic of Indonesia. Please, Pak Wijaya, join me on stage as well. Well, last but not least, we're going to welcome Dr. Maria Monica Wiharja, a visiting fellow and co-coordinator of the Media, Technology and Society Program, ASEAS Yusfok Ishak Institute. Thank you, Bu Monica. I'd like to also thank personally to CfDS because we met several times with Bu Monica, but online. Yes, Bu. And then this is the first time for me to meet in person with Bu Monica. Thank you, Bu Monica. And please give a round of applause to our prominent speakers. Well, we already listened to the Ibu Mutia and also Professor Ang public lecture earlier in order to start our dialogue this morning. And as previously mentioned, that this is a very high-level dialogue because we would like to invite not only academics but also the policymakers in order to discuss further what is actually the benefit and how we navigate between the benefit and also challenges regarding the generative AI. And we have discussed that and listened to the previous kind of speakers as well, that all the challenges or the benefit and how then we're going to do from here. So I'd like to start and then giving the opportunity for all the panelists here. We also understand that Gen AI has the multifaceted forces. So now let's hear a bit kind of discussion from each of you. I would like to start with Ibu Monica. Ibu Monica, building on your point of view, there are several kind of aspects that we discussed earlier. We would like to ask you questions regarding what do you think is the most challenging aspect from the Gen AI? And then I'd like to hear Ibu Monica, Pak Wijaya, and then Professor Ang. Please, Bu Monica, time is yours.
Okay, can you all hear me? Yeah. Good morning, distinguished panelists, Pak Wijaya and Professor Ang, Ibu Poppy, and distinguished audience here. Selamat pagi. When we talk about the most challenging AI development and deployment today, I'd like to simplify it into 3 points. This is maybe an oversimplification, as we already heard from the previous speakers that AI development and deployment has multifaceted, multisectoral, multidimensional challenges. I like to summarize this into 3 points. The first one is the fact that AI is of human. AI is modeled on humans, and AI is trained on our data. So that brings us to the questions about ownership. There's a good paper by Professor Simon Chesterman from NUS in Singapore titled "Good Models Borrow, Great Models Steal." And the fundamental questions here is whether the creators or the owners of the data that are scrapped should be compensated for the use of AI or for the ownership of AI, right? We are already living in an era, this also touches upon Professor Ang's lecture about reducing diversity, right? How everything could be reduced in terms of its diversity. Right now, I would like to quote from an article, there's no such things as originality anymore. There's only authenticity. In the near term, there are important regulatory steps that hopefully our colleague from the ministry here could also take into account in terms of addressing this in terms of ownership issue. That is to first disclose the origins of data used to train them and make clear the relative contribution of AI to the new work. So we should be compensating fairly to data owners and also to the extent to which Gen AI or AI have been used in new works. So the research community, like including platforms like IRIS, could pressure policymakers to make these important regulatory steps. The second big issue about AI deployment and development is that AI should be made by humans. And this leads us to the questions about the issue of governance. Who should be governing AI, right? And right now we have issues in terms of democratizing the governance of AI. Should we let big tech companies to make decisions on whether or not Gen AI technology is able to edit our biometric identity, for example, or even to create child pornography images and videos, right? Should we leave it to only the big tech companies? So if AI is not democratized, then what we call tech feudalism or AI empires could eventuate. On the other hand, we also see, already mentioned by Jose this morning, that we may see governments around the world that have become what we call like draconian when it comes to governing AI technologies to entrench power. And the relationship between industries and political interest, could make government to act or not to, or refraining from acting in terms of regulating AI. And again, this is where I think research community and platforms like IRIS could play a role, that is to democratize the governance of AI, including Gen AI. And there are many, good examples from what I call guidelines by soft regional organizations like ASEAN, APEC, the Pacific Island Forum, to provide principle-based guidelines on AI governance. And then the third big issue about AI development and AI deployment is that AI should be made for human, not the other way around. I think Ibu Minister already mentioned about it. So instead of being developed to fit for purpose, currently AI development is made for everything, what we call general purpose AI, right? And this has already implications on jobs, on cognitive well-being that Professor Ang also mentioned, democratic process, just to name a few, is no longer human-centric. And this pursuit of scale at all cost could lead us to what we call, this pursuit of scale at all costs, often disguised in the name of tech supremacy, not to lose in the global AI competition, like what we see within the US and China, could lead us to AI development and deployment not to be human-centric. Another fundamental problem about human-centric AI development is what also like Ibu Menteri already mentioned about value alignment, right? So what values are we using? Because technology is neutral. Technology doesn't have values, but we put values to technologies, right? Should we allow Elon Musk Grok be aligned to Musk values? Should we allow Trump's Truth Social platform be aligned to his values, right? From the moral point of view, the research community and platforms like IRIS could help derive what is called democratic account of social values. You know, there are many ways to do it. For example, identifying overlapping consensus or through direct democracy or what values we should assign to technology. And from the technical point of view, there are many ways to realize value alignment in AI system, influencing developers, influencing how algorithm is modeled, how data is trained, what data to use, checks on the processing AI systems, and checks on outputs of AI. So I think, and also importantly, when we assign values, it's not in a way to reflect what the world as it is. It should be reflecting the world we want it to be. Because then if we assign values to reflect the world as it is, it could entrench or even exacerbate, right, existing inequality that Ibu Menteri already mentioned. And lastly, we should disavow ourselves of the illusion that there's a division of labor between AI scientists and AI ethicists. AI scientists should not be just developing without thinking about the consequences of the ethical impacts of what they're building. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Monica. I think it's a very insightful comment that you have for the introduction of the discussion. I'd like to ask Professor Ang. I know before from your keynote speech, you already mentioned several aspects, especially then how then AI has been generating into something more and we make us less kind of diversified. I guess you can touch upon that aspect as well. How do you think that happened and then what should we respond to that? Please, Professor Ang.
Okay. Yeah, moderator. Yeah, sure. Okay. Okay. So okay, because the questions about the most challenging thing, I didn't think that the lack of diversity is the most critical thing. Okay. So I've two other issues. I wanted people to see that there are some issues that people have not thought about, and diversity I thought was one of them. The two issues that I thought were key, but I would touch a bit on diversity. The first one is sustainability. AI uses a lot of power, and a lot of the data warehouses are coming up. I know Indonesia wants data warehouses. Singapore, they use so much power that they do not allow any more data warehouses in Singapore. To give you an idea of scale, one data warehouse uses as much power as 250,000 households in Singapore. That's one house, one small housing estate in Singapore. So one data warehouse by one company. The reason is this: if you take the AI, so the AI that we had, we could put it into a laptop. But if you run it, it would take 20 minutes to give you one result. 20 minutes. So you sit there with a client, like, hey, I mean, you this, okay, then let's now play chess, while we wait for the results, right? So the way to do it is to put it in the cloud, answer come out in seconds. How? NVIDIA chips. That's why NVIDIA is, having a market now. So the way to avoid this is use something like what DeepSeek has done, right? DeepSeek apparently can put the algorithm now on a laptop, which is why the shares of NVIDIA fell, the shares of data warehousing centers fell. Of course, they don't come up. They haven't really seen how DeepSeek can be used. But the point is that you need to find a way to make AI more sustainable. Right now, it is not. If everybody were to use to go with AI, so Monica, I would slightly disagree with you there. if you democratize AI, what would it mean? Does it mean everybody have an algorithm at home? Then how would the power be used, you know? So I'm not sure about it. So I think sustainability is one critical issue. The second one is this. I think you all know that Gen AI, because of speed, can create a lot of fake news. So I was at a Meta workshop, and Meta says that actually their software can stop 99.99, I don't add some more, but okay, 99.99% of the fake news. But because it has billions of fake news coming out, even at 0.001%, still you get millions coming out, right? So that undermines trust in our society, right? And that undermines our democracy, which I think is even more critical in a sense than diversity, right? So how do we prevent AI from helping people make money, this company make money, but undermining the rest of us? I think you're seeing this, unfortunately, in America, right? You're seeing how people are making money, the stock market is going up, the rich are getting richer, but the rest of society is undermined. There's a lot of misinformation out there. What can we do to address that? I'm not sure, I don't have a real clear answer, but Gen AI can certainly reduce this trust in society, and therefore make our place less pleasant to live. And so to the extent diversity also, by reducing diversity, we ourselves are less exposed to what is out there. You're seeing similar things. So my wife watched some Indian movie, suddenly all the Indian movies are recommended to her, right? So you see that, right? So how do you experience diversity, which then makes your own life better in quality?
Yeah, thank you, Professor Ang. I'd like to give the chance to Pak Wijaya first. From your point of view as part of the government now, how do you see the most challenging aspect from this kind of Gen AI in terms of the public policy making process?
Thank you very much, Prof. Papi, distinguished resource persons, ladies and gentlemen. I think before I answer your questions, I just want to reiterate what Ibu Mutia, the minister, already mentioned, that actually there are two risks. The micro risk as well as the macro risk. The micro risk is reflect to ourselves, that already Dr. Monica mentioned earlier. It's not just only about the ownership, but I think there are some aspect, like it reflects ourselves, how we can cope with the algorithms bias, and how can we deal with the mis and disinformation, something like that. And also, it reflects how we can secure our personal data. And there are so many aspects reflect to individuals. The other aspect, or the other risk, yeah, we understand that also the macro risk, which is more affect to our society. The problem is now, we face in the real world, the problem of how we handle the data governance. Professor Ang already very good experience about the public lectures about the data governance, especially in the end section between the Mandarins, the Indonesian, and in English, how the technology, the AI responded. Other than data governance, we also face the problem with digital inequalities. Bu Mutia already mentions, Indonesia is very big countries. There are not only people living in urban area, but mostly living in the rural area. And we are still facing what we call digital infrastructure gap, as well as the digital divide. Meaning that we still need more power, more resources to educate people, the literacy, the digital literacy, as well as the AI literacy, to equip and educate our peoples, especially in the rural area. The third, what we visit regarding the macro risk is we have the diversity in digital ecosystem as well. Our ecosystem, especially the AI ecosystem, is not really complete enough. Perhaps maybe in Singapore it's more established compared to Indonesia. I found in Thailand, they are not regulated, but the ecosystem is much better. These are our challenges. Why? because we are talking ecosystems, it's not just only infrastructure, but also we need support from other stakeholders, the academicians, practitioners, business players. So we have to collaborate each others. So if at the end of this, again, I just want to reiterate what our minister said. If we talk about technology, instead of we have to fulfill all that, prerequisites like infrastructures and ecosystems, still we have to develop the human's capability itself. So the problem is how we can put the humans in front of the technology. So it means that we need more researchers, we need more, education, we need more learnings about the new technology. It's not just only about AI. Perhaps now we are talking about generative AI, but the near future is no longer the generative AI. It could be the agentic AI, which means that the machines can autonomously solve their problems. So this is, I think, the challenge is, if we just rely on the technology, and Prof. Ann already, mentioned that the more we're using the AI, the more we are getting lazy to use our capabilities and competencies. So I think the biggest risk, to what extent we put ourselves in front of the technology. Thank you.
Thank you, Pak Wijaya. That's also interesting to reiterate what Ibu Menteri mentioned earlier about the micro and macro from the policymakers' perspective. Bu Monica, I think you mentioned several aspects regarding how we have to deal with this Gen AI, and one of the aspects that you mentioned regarding, then responded by Professor Ang earlier, is regarding how then we see the ethical considerations with this technological advancement. Do you want to elaborate further on that aspect, Bu Monica, please? Yes.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to just clarify what I said about democratizing the governance of AI. So not necessarily the technologies itself, but how it's governed. It should be, democratic enough, right? Not being dominated by only big techs, right? Or even government, or mix between the two. So in terms of ethics, I think I really would like Ibu Minister Moti statement about, and also Pak Wijaya just mentioned about the agency, right? I think what we are seeing right now is how we are losing more and more of our agency, basically. The self-feeding mechanisms of social media, and even the content that we are consuming is being created by AI or Gen AI or some algorithm, right? So that already changed who we are, and it already changed who we want to be. Because we are being dictated essentially by AI, right? And then regarding ethical issues, also I think besides agency, the issues of bias, like what mentioned about algorithmic bias, right? How it could entrench, the existing inequality, right? I think Southeast Asia, most apparent kind of loss if we lose such diversity, and if we have the impacts from this algorithmic bias, is that we are losing more and more of our regional diversity, of our cultural, social, political diversities, right, in Southeast Asia. And Southeast Asia is, one of the most diverse regions in the world, or one of the most diverse regions in the world in terms of religions, in terms of ethnicities. Indonesia alone has, more than 1,000 local languages and more than 600, 700 ethnicities, right? So we don't want to lose that nuances when it comes to LLM development. But I think there's some good news in terms of how many Southeast Asian countries, Singapore has come up with Sea Lion, right? Indonesia has also come up with localized LLMs, so that could reduce, this algorithmic discriminations or bias. So I think, in terms of ethics, it's good that Indonesia has come up with AI ethics guidelines, right? And ASEAN also has AI ethics guideline and governance, but again, like what Ibu Menteri has already mentioned, sometimes regulations don't keep up enough with how technology is developing. So I noticed that the ASEAN AI ethics and governance guidelines, for example, only mentioned about Gen AI in like 1 or 2 paragraphs, right? And they said it is yet to be developed. Although there are like discussion within ASEAN about Gen AI, how to regulate Gen AI, but regulations don't keep up enough, and we have to have policy making that is different because of the speed of how technology moves, right? Some countries regulate faster, EU, China, Singapore, right? And it's good that Indonesia is adopting, some models of existing framework and regulations. We don't need to we don't need to create our own, AI ethics. We can adopt from other countries' existing frameworks. But at the same time, we do need to adjust it to local context, because when we talk about AI and Gen AI, it's not only about technicalities, but also there are like political considerations, right, associated with and also constrained by regulatory landscape in the countries as well. So it has to be adjusted to a country's local context.
Yeah, thank you, Bu Monica. I think when we're discussing on the ethical considerations and the capacity of the country, especially in the Asia Pacific, in dealing with that, is still we find a gap among these countries as well. So I'd like to follow up on that aspect with Professor Ang. You mentioned earlier that there are, again, several kind of challenges, but then we see also the opportunities. Then, in your opinion, how then we are going to balance this between, addressing the challenges and then, kind of optimizing the opportunities into integrating Gen AI into our daily life? Would you elaborate on that aspect, please?
Okay, you're asking a man who closed his startup about opportunities. Opportunity flew. Okay, so I have a view that the ethical codes, and sorry, I'm throwing a grenade here, are quite useless. Quite useless.
What's that?
Yeah, let me tell. I may not get invited back here, but never mind. I guess, yeah. I'll miss Jogja running UGM. So let me give you just one example, right? So there was a rumor that your iPhone, that Uber or Gojek here, I guess, the rumor that Gojek or Uber will know if your phone, how much battery is left on your phone. And that if you are a woman at night and your phone battery is low, they'll give you surge pricing. But the chief economist, oh, that's not true. Then he said some other thing which is kind of funny. He said that we found that if we charge people not by a round number, but by some odd number, then people feel, oh, this is by the computer, so they're more willing to pay. So if you look at your phone when you ask for a ride, it is often not a round number. And this is created by the phone company, I mean the Uber, the ride company, and now Gojek, because they learned this from Uber, right? Is that good or not? Is it fair or not? What is surge pricing, How much do they surge, right? Why? So you tell me, okay, if I'm a woman and I'm in a dark place, my battery is low, you will not surge pricing. How do I know that? So in fact, I wrote a piece to say the government should force these companies to tell us what they include in surge pricing. There was one time when our subway broke down, and the ride from the city center to the suburban area was $200, which is about $150 for one ride. In fact, the man who gave the ride was so embarrassed, he didn't collect the money, he collected less than that. But what are the factors that go into such pricing? And nothing's been done. So although there's all the codes talk about transparency, fairness, and all that, no one has forced these companies to tell us what do they include in the search pricing, right? You want to know, right? It may be fair. Then show us that it's fair. But they don't do that. So that's what I mean by the codes are quite useless. They need to be enforced at some level. And right now, I don't know any country that's enforcing it. So on the sad part of my startup, let me tell you about our code of ethics, right? I know, useful, but in the end, we lost money. So the startup, I was telling you, we're writing essays for school children. And the question then was, should we grade the essays or not? Because every parent wants to know the grades, right? We had a lot of discussion, and we concluded, and it wasn't just me, it was my colleagues who were doing in the shares and all that in the company. We shouldn't grade the essays. And in fact, this should be common for all, everything for all programs that have some learning. Because we were worried that children may know how to game the system. So to get good grades on AI, but when it comes to final exam, because like you say, it's human in the loop, they may not get a good grade. So they are misled. So we concluded that we will not grade the essays. And in fact, our Singapore Ministry of Education had a program they talk about all across. In the end, nothing has come up, so I don't know what's happened. We tried to bid for it, we couldn't. They needed a big company, we were a small company, so we couldn't bid. But they have also decided not to grade the results of what they produce. I think for mathematics you can, to a certain extent, but for writing, they will not allow grading. So if you look at the issue of grading, right, it is not in any of the codes. No code says you should not grade essays of school of any learning or examination topic. No one says that. So I think that, so what I've written on a paper on this, every AI application should look at ethical issues within itself. So you have a big code, which like I said, at this level is quite useless, but every AI app, every AI program should see what are ethical problems that our users may face, and then honestly come up with some code of ethics to guide them. Of course, the question then is, what if you don't have the code of ethics, right? So my view is that in the long run, you'll suffer. So I mean, basically, the theory about ethics is that you can have a short-term benefit, but long-term, you will suffer. So that is kind of where this is coming from. So I hope you need research to show that it works. So I have a theory, right? I need to show that actually, if you don't do the good thing long run, you'll die, basically you'll die. But we need evidence for that.
Thank you, Professor Ang. That's a very interesting aspect that both Ibu Monica and Professor Ang mentioned earlier, and I want to ask Pak Wijaya opinion on that. There is an ethical consideration. There is a problem with how then the big tech company, say for example, using the data, using all the things that we have been doing with these companies, and then they're doing it for their own purposes. So how then the government's role in that kind of situation? What sort of like government policy or national strategies in order to deal with both the ethical aspect, and how then we are going to regulate this big tech company, while the Indonesian case, we are still also facing some sort of like issues regarding the, the digital gap, digital infrastructure, and so on and so forth. Please, Pak Wijaya, I know it's a big question, but you can answer that, I believe, yeah.
It's quite interesting, and also important issues that we have to raise in this valuable forum like this. I agree with Prof. Ans. So if you're talking about all the ethical norms, actually there are 9, all with T at the end: inclusivity, sustainability, accessibility, and all the T's. But I think the more important thing is how we can put practically in the code of conduct. I think if we are now, we still have the white papers. We are still formulating what we call the AI roadmaps. But in the real life now, we already launched what we call the government regulations, what we call PP Tunas. Peraturan Permintaan, so I'm using in bahasa Indonesia because the regulations is government regulations. Peraturan Permintaan nomor 17 tahun 2025 tentang tata kelola penyelenggara sistem elektronik untuk perlindungan anak. So actually this is the regulations how we can protect our children, from the global platforms like that, from any algorithms that the big companies want to take benefit from the children's. I think in ASEAN, we, the Indonesians, has launched that. I don't find any other ASEAN countries, I don't know, even in Singapore. Even in Australia, they are the initials, the first initiative to protect the children, but they don't have, like, the clear and quite detailed stipulations or clause in the regulations to protect the children. Actually, we are not, in these regulations, we are not prohibiting the children to enter the social media or any device. But we just to delay the way they have to enter the social media. Second thing that role important in these regulations is we regulate the big company to put some control in their systems. We don't interfere their algorithm or their system or their technology. But we need them to put any controls with their own algorithms to avoid children's unconsciously enters the social media that will harm them. So they put some menus on them. Basically, we not prohibited. We constrain or not constrain. We convince the participation of children under the age of 13, unless they got approval from their parents. So the parental approvals could be put in the menus or the algorithms. So if we are talking about the technology, the government, I think this is what the Indonesian government tries to protect the society, the publics, especially for the children, for any harms of the new technology itself. We are not talking about, yes, we understand there are some values, norms in AI, ethical AI, and we still, elaborating, exploring what is the proper norms for ourselves. We already discussed with other ministries, stakeholders, business players, global technologies, global firms as well, and also many, professors in some prominent universities. And I think what we have to do is, if you're talking about technology, we cannot do by ourselves. Government cannot do by themselves. We have to go hand in hand with other stakeholders, especially from, university academia, professors, as well as business players as well. So I think this is the point that I want to highlight in this discussion.
Okay. Thank you, Pak Wijaya. It's a very interesting discussion, and I don't want to dominate the discussion with asking all the questions. I can keep going, because it's very interesting. But then I can see that I need to give the time also for the audience. It seems even though from this stage we cannot see the audience, yes? It's too dark over there, but okay, good. So I'd like to, okay. See, now I can see that some people raised their hand already. So sorry before that I don't see anything. Well, let me check first. I can see someone from here, there. Oh, sorry. I need a female. Okay, right. So we have like 3, is that correct? Here, 1. And 1 from there, yes. And then probably someone, okay, on the back. Anyone, would you like to please give the microphone to the first? Would you please be brief in addressing your question, and if you have any specific speaker that you would like to address to, please be brief, all right? Thank you.
Okay. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I would like to ask to...
Your name, please, and and your affiliation.
Let me introduce myself. My name is Fikri Novian Pratama. I'm from FPB UNS of Faculty of Economic and Business, University of 11 Maret, Surakarta. And I I would like to ask to Bu Monica and Pak Wijaya, can you give us advice as young generation to face transformation in AI used for daily problems? From Professor Ang with PowerPoint, I will to contribute to Indonesian development in future. Thank you.
Let us collect all the questions first. The first one is regarding the young generation. The question from the young generation, your advice for the young generation. In terms of music. Yes. For you and Professor Wijaya. Well, the second question from the audience, I think from the middle on the back. Yes, yeah.
Hello, my name is Eva. I'm from Kemenko PMK. Where I have a question. Where is the line between building information resilience and legitimizing censorship, especially in Asia Pacific context where countries differ on democratic openness? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you want one of the speakers to respond to your question, or you want to all?
I think all.
Yeah. All, okay. Is censorship and the bridging between censorship, the right of the censorship, because the democratization is different in each country. All right, from this side, yes.
Thank you. I am Nabila from Communication Department, Magister Program. I want to respond. According to me, the timeless problem is about gap. Who can take advantages and avoid risk? I think that the people and the children who is more well educated, more literated, and better wealthy economic situation. So how can we do something to make no one left behind in this AI era? In Indonesia, the spirit of technology adaptation is regarded to the aim of digital transformation, but our effort is not adequate enough to mitigate the risk in social life. I mean, it is about multi-sectoral, Komdigi do something to avoid the risk, and then the Minister of Education do something that make curriculum about coding and AI in more technical and skill aspect, but I think there is no adequate effort to build the critical thinking about digital and AI use in children and also in the family, I think.
Okay.
Also,
I think your question should be addressed to Pak Wijaya. Is that correct? All right. Okay. So I'll give the chance first to Pak Wijaya because most of the questions also addressing to the Indonesian government as well. Please, Pak Wijaya.
Thank you, Prof. Poppy. So the government bears the blame. No. Okay. First, I have to answer Mas Pratama, betul tadi? Dari UNS ya? Okay. What is your advice for the youngsters? First of all, before I answer your questions, I have to give some figures. So the figures says like this. In terms of using AI in Indonesia, there is a survey by Kata Data in 2023. This data reveals that 51% of the respondents, of the youngsters, goes to the Gen Z groups. And the 33% goes to the millennial groups. Only the senior groups bears only or holds only 60%. It means that if we are talking about the new technology, AI specifically, the Gen Z and millenniums generations is the dominant users. So it means that the governments is aware that we have to protect these youngsters. So how we can protect? First, the government, what we can do, we just regulate. What we can regulate, we regulate how to use that, how to avoid the youngsters from the dark side. I recall from, Jose mentioned, the dark sides. So we have to put on the Jedi set, not the sick side. It means what we Jedi set. So we put how the youngsters, we promote and encourage the youngsters to learn more. That's why all ministers have the program what we call digital talent scholarships. The digital talent scholarships comprise of 8 thematics programs. The highest ones is we are talking about blockchains, AI as well as. But, the basic ones, we are talking about, how to understand about digitalization and so on and so on. Digital marketing is the next levels and other levels. So it means that now our government, especially our ministers, and collaboration with many universities, we developed what we call digital talent scholarships. Besides this kind of program, now we are also promoting the new program, what we call AI Center of Excellence. Actually, now there are only 2. That's the government initiative, but we also support the private sector initiatives. The governments, we already developed what we call the AI Center of Excellence in Papua. The first ones in East Java, especially we collaborate with the University of Brawijaya. In these years, we expect that other universities, including UGMs, to also develop what we call AI Center of Excellence. Solo already has one, but it's developed by Indosat. And also we also encourage other telecommunications firms and other private sectors, domestic as well as overseas, to invest in this kind of programs. So I think if what we really want from the youngsters is we have to learn more about this technology. And governments already provide that kind of channels. Now we are talking about, I'm not really sure about the second question's bridgings from Mbak Eva dari Kemenko PMK. Could you, PMK, yeah. You are talking about how to bridging the censorship and democratization, something like that. Well, I'm not really sure how to respond this question, but actually if we are talking about AI, we're still, the government still, actually we have three kind of, because we adopted the regulation from the Europe. Actually, there are 3 types of regulations or type of criteria if you want to use the technology. First, something that really prohibited. If we are using AI for politics, we have to avoid that. If using AI for criminals, we have to prohibit it. The other one is high risk, especially if you're talking about the high risk in health sectors, especially in the health sectors and also in aviations. But if you're talking about democratizations, well, it's quite, I'm not really sure how to respond this book because I'm not really understand. Maybe Dr. Monik or Prof. An can answer that question. But I just want to respond the last questions regarding yes, that's why we understand. That's why before we really, now the government, especially the Ministry of Communication and Digital, Komdigi, we are, actually we already invite all ministries not only from the Dustman, but also from the Design Tech, as well as other ministries and also other stakeholders. How we can fit and formulate the ideas in what we call single AI roadmap. Yes, we understand that the policy is not one size fits all, but we are trying to put this kind of document is living documents that we can, flexible with adaptations, with new dynamic, growths and issues in the near futures. So if you are talking, yes, we understand that policy, sometimes our policies that goes this way, the other policy, ministry policy goes that way. That's why I think we have to sit in the same room and same tables. And we are not really pushing the policy. It should be in a similar tone, but we would like to have the similar ideas to which way we bring this technology for the benefits for the people at most. I think that's...
Thank you, Pak Wijaya. Professor Ang, would you like to respond to the first question?
Okay, so I guess my response would be to advise to the young. Yeah. I think many of you here are interested to know. So of course I know researchers working in use of mobile phones, and all the researchers working on mobile phones give their children the worst phone possible. So I have a friend who has written a book on digital parenting. She gave her child your slim phone, not smartphone, the normal for SMS. Basic SMS one. And she had to go and find it in Singapore. I must find some place where only one facility had, so she found it. And the daughter says that she has the worst phone in the whole school, right? So this is the point about researchers dealing with the impact of mobile communication on children, right? So in the same way, what I'm telling you is that although AI is available, especially to the young, you should not overuse it. So I just have one, maybe two advice. First, cut and paste is wrong. If you cut and paste, you're not evaluating it. There can be hallucinations. I was telling your vice rector that I gave one student an F, in fact a 0, because he copied and cut and paste, and they were fixed citations. So one was an F, one was a D or E, and D or E you pass, but you will not graduate. So D and E because they just simply cut and paste. So certainly don't just cut and paste. And you need to bring in your critical thinking into this space, because think about it, right? Say two of us are working together and AI is available, right? I use AI, he also uses AI. What's the difference, right? But now he's got critical thinking and I don't have. Because in university, I kept using AI without thinking, right? Who will get ahead? Of course, he will get ahead. So the tools are out there, but how come I'm behind and he's ahead? Because use critical thinking. So I think the problem is that AI works, but it works for the short run. You have to think for the long run.
Thank you, Professor Ang. Ibu Monica, please, time is yours.
Yep, such great questions. So in terms of advice for young generations, in terms of using AI, I'm not sure I'm the best person to advise you on this, but I have a few advices. I think the big headline would be, for me, is don't cheat your future self, right? There's a lot of tools that you can use, but you still need to learn all the basic skills. I agree with the previous speakers. Familiarize yourself with technologies, because then you know the risk and also the opportunities. If you try to evade using technologies, then you may not know the risk. Let me give you an example. Just recently, my relative showed me how we can create deepfake videos using Grok, subscribe Grok, right? I can take a picture of any of you here, sitting, side by side, and I can make a video of you cuddling, right? And then you can blackmail your maybe ex boyfriends or whatever, right? That's how dangerous the the technology is. But without familiarizing yourself with technologies, then you won't know. So I have all types of Gen AI apps in my phone. Not that I'm using it for my work, but I test all these like AIs, right? Gen AI platforms. I ask, whether or not they can write an article, in my style of writing. I ask them to, create some kind of like images. I just want to test, how far technologies could kind of like advance or can advance like when people want to do, mischievous things, right? And then the second point I would like to make is that, be familiar and educate yourself. Maybe also going back to Professor Ang's point about how to use AI technology and Gen AI technologies, and in terms of your personal life and in terms of your interpersonal relations, there are at least 3 ways how technologies have changed our interpersonal relations, and I think this something that young generations should be aware of. One is that when you communicate through online, right, you have this self-awareness that the world is watching you, right? So you reduce your stakes, and then you reduce your intimacy, right? There's also a study in countries like Japan that young generation now meet less, they date less, they marry less, right? So this is something that I suggest you to counter that, right? You have to meet more and don't only like communicate or chat through online. And then the second thing about like how communication online or using AI, Gen AI could affect our interpersonal relations is the fact that we can go anonymous, right? So there are people who become like abusive, and that kind of like results in increase, online bullying, and this is something that you don't want, you have to be aware of. And the third point is this echo chambering, right? You tend to, this algorithm sort of like fits what you tend to agree because they want you to keep on, to keep engaged, right, with their platforms. So you feel kind of like this self-righteous, you think that you know everything, but actually you are like living in a bubble. So this is also something that you want to be like aware of. My personal advice to you all, the young generation, is that read more books, right? Don't only, scroll, your social media. As already mentioned, limit your use of your social media. You can set it in your phone, and perhaps, so what else? In public transportation, this is what I do, right? So I get annoyed and I get tired of people having their mobile phones like attached to their faces when I'm in public transportation. So I try not to touch my mobile phone when I'm in public transportation. I try to watch people, just observe them. They're people, just be aware of your environment more. So in public transportation, try not to just, get attached to your mobile phone. So now going to the second question about censorship versus democratic process, I think that's really a good answer. That's why I say, yes, you can adopt a regulation, from EU or from China or whatever, or if Singapore, right? But they have different sort of like political landscape. They have different priorities, national priorities. What is interesting is that there's a study by NUS team that basically collect database of all regulation on disinformation, laws and regulation on disinformation since 1995 to 2023. what is fascinating is they see a negative correlation between political freedom and regulations, right? So the earliest adopters of regulations and laws on misinformation, disinformations are countries from Asia and from Africa, right? That have kind of less political freedom or freedom of speech, right? But since 2016, more and more Western countries, which has more freedom of speech, more political freedoms, have been adopting more and more regulation on disinformation and misinformation, especially since COVID time when there increasing rise of misinformation and disinformation, right? But yes, there are a lot of existing rules and regulation to emulate. Again, this has to be adopted to a country's local context, right? In terms of how a country prioritizes censorship. For example, like in China, you cannot build Gen AI that undermine their censorship, right? But also China has a lot of good regulation in terms of protecting their intellectual property rights on training data and these kind of things. While EU is very heavy on rights, like technology developers cannot deploy facial recognitions for surveillance, for example, right, or for credit social scoring. So countries in Southeast Asia could look at all these existing rules and regulations, guidelines, but still need to be adjusted to a country's local context, right? So maybe, on the third question, I think, certainly there are things to be done in terms of bridging the gap, in terms of the impacts of skill-biased technologies, but because some studies did show that those who benefit digital technologies are the more educated ones, right? So you kind of although maybe all boats are lifted, but still those who benefit more are the more educated ones. So there has to be some affirmative actions and things to be done by the government to bridge these gaps.
Well, thank you, Bu Monica. We believe that it's not only those who are joining us in person, we also some audience joining us online. And there is one question from the online audience from Emira UGM. But then since considering that we have a very limited time, I'd like to each panelist to respond to this question, including the closing statement. So the question is very related to what we're discussing. How can Asia Pacific countries ensure academic and journalistic resilience against the over-dependence on generative AI? That's the question from Emira from UGM. So I'd like to ask each panelist to respond to this question, including also the closing statement from you in order to close this discussion. I'd like to invite first Professor Ang and then Pak Wijaya and then last but not least Ibu Monica. Please, Professor Ang.
So I'm not sure what it means by over-dependence on Gen AI. The newsrooms are beginning to use AI. The kind of basic one would be they put up what is trending on the site. So I was told that in China there was one newspaper put up 24 screens in newsroom to show different metrics of how the news is performing. There's a lot of pressure then on a journalist to write so that their news appears on that screen, right? That you're trending up. But of course they realize that's not a really sustainable long term, and also then you don't do deep and lengthy stories, right? You only do short stories that go viral. So that's kind of a trick, and I guess they're learning how to adapt to that. So the chief scientist that we had on our startup was hired by MediaCorp, the TV station. So we lost him. I think he's tripled his salary when he joined them. He told me that he has done a 17-page prompt. I know our prompts are maybe a few lines. He wrote 17 pages prompt to help the journalists get background stories from their own archive to help them in their reporting. So you can see this is the case whereby you're using your own resources to help make your story better. And I think that there'll be more of these coming on. In other words, how do you strengthen your own stories, given that your background already, but you got to do the research, right? So I think, if anything, I think the use of Gen AI will increase at least in this short to medium term, so that it helps strengthen the story, but not to the point that it stresses out the journalists. It doesn't make sense, because the journalism industry is not doing well, so not many people are going in. So when those who go in, you want to hang on to them, you don't want to leave. And so if you put stress on them, that's not sensible. So somewhere, I think they need to be, they're aware of that, but yes, they definitely will increase the use of Gen AI.
Thank you very much. I think if we are talking about the use of AI, Gen AI in journalism, the most important thing is at the initial stage, perhaps you can use that for collecting data, research to help them to more research. But still the most important thing is how to deliver the communication to the public. So at this stage, the critical thinking or the creative thinking of the journalist is required. So it's not just rely on the technology, but put the human aspect inside. Because I think most of us know how the technology, the field, technology, maybe if we instead read written articles, for example, I put some, prompts to AI, and the answer is somehow is quite, just in average. But if ask a humans or my staff, or even a professional journalist, to write an article, just one paragraph, we understand there is a feel inside. So don't rely on just on the technology. Use the technology to help you to research, to more efficient, to short the times instead of doing manually. So again, my closing statements put the human sides, the bright sides, in front of the technology. Thank you.
So answering to the online question about how can Asia Pacific countries ensure sort of the sustainability of the academic and journalism in the era of Gen AI, right? So that's true in the sense that I think the knowledge sector and the journalism sector would be like the two sectors that could be hit hardest by Gen AI, right? I can think of two things in terms of regulations is for countries to strengthen their intellectual property rights, right? Intellectual property rights regulations, as already mentioned in my opening remarks, that we have to be clear in terms of how the data is being sourced, right, and is being used, and whether or not to compensate, the creator or the data, the owners of the data, in terms of like how AI is trained. And we have to think also how to compensate, like such as work that is partly AI generated and partly human generated, right? Because now it's a bit of like mix in between, but I think we have not found like a way to compensate that kind of work that is not purely human generated and not purely like AI generated. So these are like, I think, the two things that we can think about. In terms of my closing statement, I think we need more data and evidence-based studies to fit into regulations, right? In terms of the impacts of Gen AI and AI more generally. And for the young generation, use your voice, platforms like Iris, can be, the sort of like your platform, to use your voice. And lastly, what Professor Ang mentioned earlier, there are many short-term benefits of being fast, being efficient, using Gen AI, but we also have to think about long-term benefit. We have to think a balance between speed and resilience, right? What happens if, suddenly there's an internet shutdown, right? And you cannot, have access to your Gen AI tools, right? Yeah. So there is this recent MIT study that shows users, LLM users, when they write essays, they use less of their cognitive activities in their brain compared to those who only use search engine or purely their brains, right? So we have also to think long-term, not only short-term benefits.
Thank you, Bu Monica. Please join me to give a round of applause to our distinguished speakers. I think it's a very insightful and fruitful discussion for this kind of strategic dialogue. I'd like to use this opportunity to thank all the panelists again. We believe that the discussion has already highlighted that we believe that the Gen AI has given us both opportunities, but also there are so many challenges. So that's why it is very important for us to be aware of it. And I believe that the panelists also agreed that above all these things, humanity should be the one that we are upholding, right? Above all this kind of technology and everything. Anyway, please again give a round of applause to our panelists. And thank you for your kind attention. And this is only the beginning of the discussion. After this, please join all the panels that are already available after this morning session, because you are going to also give a very deep discussion all about the AI and how then it will also give you the most kind of updated information regarding this issue. Again, thank you so much, and please, we are the end of the discussion. And thank you everyone for joining with us. I'll give back the time to Mbak Saka. Thank you, Mbak Saka.
Thank you for our moderator. Give a big applause to Professor Poppy. Thank you so very much. Please remain on stage. All speakers and moderator to have some picture. Please remain on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, Prof. Poppy and all speakers, please proceed to the stage for the photo session. Maybe. Once again, we invite Bapak Wijaya Kusumawardana, Professor Ang Peng Hua, and Dr. Maria, and also Professor Poppy to back to the stage to have some picture together. Prof. Poppy disilahkan untuk ke atas panggung untuk foto bersama dengan para narasumber. Ya. All speakers, Bapak Wijaya, Profesor Ang Peng Hua, Dr. Maria. Okay, and this photo session will be divided into 3 sessions. First, all speakers and moderator, and next to VIP guests and all speakers and moderator. Just only the speakers and moderator first, yeah, and after that will be the VIP guests. First to all speakers and moderator. Okay. Okay, please facing the camera. Facing the camera first. Okay, the ladies in the center. Okay, okay, please get closer to another, yeah, to the center of the stage and move forward 1 or 2 steps ahead. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's capture this. 3, 2, 1, capture. Give your thumbs up like this. Okay. 3, 2, 1, capture. Next, we invite all VIP guests to join the photo session. Bapak Yose, Bapak Arya Fernandes, Bapak Vidya Andika Jati Perkasa, and Ibu Syaifa Tania. All VIP guests and also moderator and speakers we'll have photo session together, and please be prepared. Yeah. Okay. Please facing the camera and give your biggest smile to the camera. In 3, 2, 1, capture. Your thumbs up. Now, like this. Okay. 3, 2, 1, capture. Next, in the last session, will be photo session with all audience. So please, VIP guests, move to the floor. Move to the floor. Yeah. And facing the screen. And we kindly ask all participants to stand. All participants, please stand. And we will have a photo session together. Oh, okay. Stand. Yeah. Oke, boleh. Okay, first formal session, formal style first. Okay, let take a picture with all audience, ladies and gentlemen, and ini perlu merapat nggak yang di sini aja ya? Di situ aja. Okay, let's capture this in 3, 2, 1, capture. Okay, next we have a sign symbol like this. Together, please, all audience like this. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Are you all ready? Okay. Let's capture this. 3, 2, 1. Capture. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so very much, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests. It has been a true honor to accompany you throughout today's program, and we have journeyed through enlightening sessions from the keynote and public lecture to the strategic dialogue, each offering valuable insight, fresh perspectives, and meaningful discussion. And before we officially close this program, let me extend our heartfelt gratitude to all our distinguished speakers, moderator, and panelists for generously sharing their expertise. And we also sincerely thanks to all media partners, Kumparan, Kata Data, and Narasi for their invaluable support. And of course, a big thanks to all of you, our participants, for your active engagement and contribution to success of IRIS 2025. As a reminder, after a 1-hour break, our program will continue with 4 panel discussion that will further explore and deepen today's themes. Each panel features outstanding experts ready to share that knowledge, and we encourage you to participate actively. It will be started at 1 p.m. and all audience, please enjoy your lunch break, and please move to your panel room through the stair. You are not allowed use the lift, and please use the stair ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, and that's our program today. Thank you so very much once again for joining the Information Resilience and Integrity Symposium 2025. And we look forward to seeing you at the panels. Good afternoon. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, please be informed to all participants to enjoy lunch outside of this hall.